afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Monday, August 29th, 2022, a little after 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have a Time for Change call this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, Reverse Aging Health call Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Our essence and our essential joy is so huge that it flows in every direction. Come on. Sometimes we forget that the most important place we can turn for answers is inside ourselves. The outer world tends to captivate us, tantalize us, and coerce us to lose our inner direction with its materialistic importance and superficial psychodramas. We can become emotionally captured by these experiences and feel completely disconnected from the safe, soothing resource of our inner world. The mind can become so involved in the external that we fall blind to the truth of the radiant sacred beings we actually truly are. The most enlightening path to liberation is the one that is the most sustainable and always available from within. The most enlightened path. This approach has stopped the search in the outer world for real fulfillment and knows there is no greater source of true satisfaction than the one that exists within us. I believe that it's the incessant searching of the mind which causes us not to see. We are not seeing the divine sacred beings we truly are because we are following the mind's perpetual wanting, yearning, and desiring habit. The more time we give for appreciating what is in our lives, accepting and loving the people who share our lives with us, the wanting program that had caused internal blindness slowly starts to fade out of our lives. As long as the mind is directed outwards, our energy continues to flow away from our center, away from deep inner peace and the stillness where all real sustainable answers to this life are found. The truly liberated being is the one who has chosen to give up the perpetual search for happiness out there and lives only at the source of their pure spiritual essence, which is always available within. And when we turn our attention to the real source itself, the energetic blackboard behind our inner world, the essential tools of love, thought, and creativity become the real gold. And when we discover the possibility of stopping the mind from its addiction to needing something outside itself to be satisfied, we discover the greatest world of freedom and empowerment has always been inside. Where there is awareness, there is the potential for healing and spiritual freedom. In each moment, we can become aware where we are focusing our attention. Is it now on my inner world or my outer world? Is the question we should be asking ourselves. Eventually, with enough awareness, we see they are the same and there is only one world. However, the mind is very conditioned and accustomed to perceiving a separation, focusing on the outer world for the causes of manifestation and fulfillment. It doesn't want to take 100% responsibility for the uncomfortable feelings that can be hiding in its basement. When we bring more awareness to where the source of the mind is coming from, where our outer world is truly manifesting from inside ourselves, we slowly start to see we have total responsibility over the manifestations in our lives. By not judging but simply accepting what we find on the journey towards the source of all thought, we eventually discover how to relax into this divine responsibility and bathe in the light of our being. The source of our spiritual essence begins to take precedence over the mind, and we relax into a deeper life experience. This is full of unlimited potentiality and freedom. Perhaps the most wonderful thing about this universe is that it is perpetually benevolent. It always gives us exactly what we need, especially when we don't realize that it is what we truly need. If we are only directing our attention towards the outer world, we burn out, and the universe leads us to retreat back into our inner world to reboot. The body and mind are programmed to find balance, peace, healing. At some point, the pendulum of this life will swing us back to stillness on its own accord. The stillness is the doorway to our ultimate creativity and God-given manifestation responsibility. This is the moment our real spiritual journey begins, and the unfulfilling, never-ending path to satisfying the ego comes to an end. Be always feeling and reflecting on the real being. Be that and cling close to it. Let your quest be constant and sustained until you catch the self and thereby find eternal happiness. Ramana Maharishi. One of the greatest truths you may find thus far on the path to inner liberation is this. The soul or spiritual being, who you actually are, is so huge, all-consuming, and deeply enlightening that ultimately it doesn't matter if you get whatever your ego wants or doesn't want. Your mind and ego will always be trying to want something that it thinks will finally bring it to being completely fulfilled and satisfied. The problem is that it only knows how to want. It doesn't know how to relax and rest in having or pure being. However, the rabbit hole goes even deeper. It goes even deeper here for just recognizing the incessant desiring mind habit is not the final answer to freedom here. The real freedom comes from knowing that when we do get whatever we want, we will also get what we don't want. Whenever we manifest any desire, we always get both. There is no single payoff from achieving any desire in this world that does not also have a cost to it. For instance, we finally meet our dream partner or soulmate. Only later we find out that they have this deeply annoying habit that we cannot stand. Or, when we get to buy our dream car, we realize it also comes with an insanely high monthly insurance rate and costly maintenance fees. The weekend drinker who loves to party always forgets about the horrible hangover experience that will painfully consume his or her life the next morning. If and when we discipline ourselves with daily exercise and get super strong and fit, we may only later discover we are becoming super stiff and tight from not integrating deep stretching exercises as well. Even if we think we found our perfect dream life, there's always going to be a need for a feeling of the gratitude about it all to keep the mind happy, peaceful, and at a higher vibration so we can evolve and manifest an even more amazing experience of life next year. This understanding may initially make life feel hopeless. Yet I assure you, it is the doorway to absolute freedom beyond it all. Always getting both, what we want and what we don't want, is one of the most enlightening and deeply liberating spiritual paths to explore. When we realize that this life is always going to be a break-even, win-lose experience with every desire we go after, we start to relax about the whole game and drop into something deeper inside. In the beginning, this dropping in can feel like apathy, thinking, what's the point of it all if we always get what we want and what we don't want, and never only just the goodies? Yet this feeling will soon fall away when we see that the nature of desire, not having, is pure suffering, and that inner peace with desire actually manifests our desires much more easily. Then the great ride of life becomes enjoyable along the way. When we understand that every single time we manifest any desire, we get both what we want and don't want, we stop becoming so attached to making our desires manifest. We stop trying to manipulate and control this life so as to get it to flow our way. We stop being so greedy, needy, and full of selfish, egoic agendas. Then there arises this feeling of sweet surrender to the grand totality of this life, the majesty of our being. And the simple awareness of this profound truth, we gently begin to relax into our spiritual nature and thus become a more powerful manifesting magnet for everything our hearts desires. Life's problems may be complicated, yet the answers are always very simple. This universe is full of mystery and paradox. When we give up on wanting something, we become a stronger magnet for receiving it. When we give up on wanting something, we become a stronger magnet for receiving it. It seems backwards, yet it happens every time. When we relinquish attachment to something, that something just wants to fall into our laps. I find the most enlightened approach to dealing with attachment to a desire is knowing that once the desire is manifested, we must be emotionally prepared to receive the opposing negative byproduct as well. Now, this doesn't mean we cannot or should not celebrate the attachment of our goal in an outrageous way. In fact, it's best that we give it our all, do a total let go, and fall deep into appreciation, because this increases our joy vibration and ability to growing stronger as a powerful manifesting magnet. As we let go into total full self-expression, we can rise even higher into ecstatic bliss, because we know that very soon the annoying negative flip side to things will arise and bring everything back to an even neutral balance. Life is like a gambling casino where you always win whatever you bet. If you bet 5, you get 5 back each time. There's always an even outcome, a perfect balance to this life, which makes everything fair in the end. Karmically, we always get whatever we put into our lives. Some say life is unfair, yet life actually is completely fair. Everything balances itself out in the end. We simply have to look for the rainbow when we're drowning in the rainstorm. Look for the rainbow while you're drowning in the rainstorm. There's always a brilliant wave of light underneath every dark underflow of fear. The universe was set up this way so we could remain neutral, relaxed in the awareness that is at the center of our being, which subsequently is also the center of the entire universe. The trick to life is to be continually alert to the new, because nothing is ever as it seems. Nothing is ever as it seems. We can think a person is a certain rigid way our whole lives, only at the end to realize that they had a hidden flexible part that we could never see. It is how we see things that makes them what they are. Our perception of people colors and paints them, yet does not come close to the truth of their grand totality. Everyone is a permanent grand mystery to be experienced and explored. When we hold this understanding as sacred, our relationships and communications with others unfold in a much more enlightening way. Once we become conscious about this perpetual balanced nature of duality, the incessant desiring game will completely subside. Then we are eased into a nesting area of true relaxation within our hearts and lives. Here, we can experience the grace and joy of our divinity, the healing quality of our being. We can discover real freedom, our true essence, and our essential nature. Observe the mind. When thoughts come, ask to whom do these thoughts come to? When thoughts come, ask to whom do these thoughts come to? Always watch, witness, and observe. Do not get caught in thought. Just surrender. Robert Adams. Once we remember or understand the discovery that where there is dark, there is light, and where there is light, there is dark. You could go into a brilliantly flooded with light room, where basically you can't see anything but light. With the right instruments, you will detect particles of dark. The same with a pitch black room. You will identify particles of light. So that means everything. Everything. No matter how you may be fooled by the ego mind, but everything has good and has bad, both. A lot of the times we forget to remember this. And, when you get caught up with the ego mind and things are happening, and, you're in that pressure cooker and you're looking all around and you're saying to yourself, when is this going to finally subside or end? And then you say to yourself, I know there's good in this, and I have to be aware, I choose to be aware on what are the good parts of this. So it's awareness, and it's us not getting involved with the ego mind. It's the repetition of affirmation that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Claude M. Bristol. It's very true. It's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. So in other words, if you're saying, affirmations every day. And at first you feel silly or uncomfortable with it because you say, oh, these aren't going to work. There's ego mind coming in, insecurity. But you say, you know what? I'm going to continue saying these affirmations for the rest of my life. And I'll have new ones that I'll add. And the more I repeat these affirmations, that will lead me to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things will begin to happen. The major difference between people who effortlessly sail across the globe manifesting all their dreams and those who never manage to get out of the harbor lies in one thing and one thing only: their attitude. There are people who simply give up on their life dream when they encounter their first difficulty or obstacle. They don't believe in themselves and have fallen prey to the I give up syndrome. How many times have you heard that? I give up, right? How many people say they give up? And it's interesting because it's said with such conviction. It's a syndrome. There are those who don't know the meaning of giving up and find themselves naturally being successful at life. Even when they lose, they are never defeated because they have adopted an unstoppable attitude about this life. Does this sound like a quality that you'd like more of in your life? Now you either say a huge yes or a no. Anytime we are viewing a difficulty as a roadblock in this life, and this works, as silly as it may seem to you at first, shake your body and start focusing on where and how you can see it as an opportunity. Don't ever let the feeling of being blocked by life enter into your body. Shake it out the instant it tries to creep in. You can transform any problem into something that supports you by merely shifting your perspective. You can transform any problem into something that supports you by merely shifting your perspective. We have the power to make solving problems fun. For instance, let's say you can get together with some friends and have a potluck brainstorming evening, or you could call an old friend and probe their mind for new ideas. Let them think about it. Or you could set the intention of receiving the answer in a dream. Or whenever you start feeling blocked, remember that there is always a solution waiting to be discovered. You may just need to step out of your comfort zone a few inches so other people can help you discover it. The feeling of being unstoppable resides naturally in our connection with our soul. When we meditate on our infinite nature, or simply relax into that place inside of us that is empty of thought, we will find a surge of energy rise inside. The truth is that we already are unstoppable at manifesting whatever we put our attention on, as long as we are putting our attention on what we want instead of what we don't want. True confidence in this life doesn't come from overpowering others or even weaker parts of ourselves. It comes from being connected to a deep resource of inner peace. This is the source of where true unstoppability is found. When we are truly in a pickle in our lives, one of the most powerful things that we can do is to ask this universe for help. This universe is very magical and happy to help us overcome any obstacle that we might encounter. This all-intelligent universe is always here listening, waiting to offer its unlimited supply of gifts and services to us all. In fact, it is the only thing that has allowed us to manifest all our desires in the first place, and it's just waiting for us to ask for more help. Once we send out a strong request to this universe and can wait with infinite patience, our requests will soon be answered. With this universe on our team, how can we feel anything less than unstoppable? To reinforce begin each day off with a bang by proclaiming to the entire universe every morning that you are unstoppable. At first, it may not mean much, okay? It might be silly or whatever. But do it. And keep doing it. Claim it. And remember, whatever you focus on is what will grow in your life. So why not create the routine of feeling unstoppable? We create every other routine, don't we? Practice saying the affirmation out loud to yourself. I am unstoppable. With a strong conviction in your voice, and feel it is true deep inside your heart. Say it like you really mean it at least 5 times each morning when you first look in the mirror. Then thank this universe for supporting you with this feeling of unstoppability today. And be grateful for its power to help you manifest whatever you set your mind to achieving. You might want to go as far as writing a letter to this universe describing in detail what you truly need. Finish your letter by saying, thank you, universe, for providing me with these needs. Go into a meditative state and connect directly with the conscious intelligence of this universe, asking for any guidance or help in receiving these needs. Complete each morning with the feeling that this universe is now supporting you. Repeat that affirmation. I am completely supported by this universe, and it is providing all of my needs with joy and ease. I am completely supported by the universe, this universe, and it's providing all my needs with joy and ease. Let this affirmation sink deeply into the marrow of your bones. Reread your letter every evening, and then the following morning, repeat the entire ritual. Allow yourself to feel the divine intelligence is here, giving you true universal support with each new day. It's funny because we spend most of our time outside of ourselves. And we spend most of our time seeking answers outside of ourselves. And very rarely do we realize that the God that we are within these bodies has all the answers to all the questions. And this is why many of us, through lifetimes, when the body begins to wane, and we know that we are getting ready to leave it, and then we leave the body, and then we say to ourselves, how much time did I spend within that body? And how much time did I spend outside of that body? And you'll find that 9 times out of 10, you spent most of your time outside of that body, seeking but not knowing. Finding, but not understanding. So it's almost like through this amnesia, right, everything's been reversed on us. So it's like you're running, right? All of a sudden the ground turns, and you're running in the direction that you desire to run in. Now, the ground turns, and you're running the opposite direction, but everything looks the same, so you feel that you're running in the right direction, right? In reality, you're running in reverse. So we become totally oblivious of the God within us. It's kind of like, you know, I use the analogy where you come to a river, right? And there's a bunch of boats there, people. But you're aware. And you notice that there's two directions on this river. And you see that there's a lot of people in boats that are digging their oars and grimacing and sopping wet, fighting the current, going upstream. Panting with exhaustion. Not getting too far either. That's how strong this current is. And you're almost standing still, but you're moving a little bit at a time, not much. Then you see, not very populated at all, few people, getting in boats that are facing the opposite direction, going with the current. And there's like an easy, cushiony lounge in the boat, and you get in the boat, it fits you perfectly, and it's warm, and you lay back, and there's no oars. And you don't care, because you know that the universe has got your back and is guiding things perfectly. So you say to yourself, your intention is, wherever this boat takes me, I am grateful. And on you go. Downstream thinking. Not fighting the current, which is the life. It's an analogy. You have a choice, too. You always have a choice. Whether going within or going without. But it's, how do we get there? Most of it, 99% of us, is fighting the current, which is life, this life. So we're fighting life. Now the other 1% has so much trust in this life, and faith in themselves and the universe, and trust in the universe. Easy peasy, they just go with the flow. And they don't sweat the small stuff, and a lot of the times they don't sweat the big stuff. They just let it go. But understand repetitiveness and how we're trained, and as we come into these baby bodies, and then the body becomes a child, and then all of the voices around the child, all of the opinions, ideas, aren't your opinions and ideas. They're other people's opinions and ideas. They're other people's thoughts, not yours. None of them are yours, nor have they ever been. You see how the cycle continually repeats itself. Rather than, okay, imagine this. You don't have any of those voices around you, and you're left with you. And you're told that you're not that body. You're the God within the body, and the God within the body is all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. And that God in the body that you are is part of everything, always and forever and beyond. You are not separate. That is the illusion. What do you think would happen with a society like that? What do you think? How would the planet be? Being aware of your thoughts, and then being able to identify, that's not my thought. Those aren't my thoughts. We're saying to the ego mind, you are not in charge here. See, we spend most of our time and energy, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but to begin to know this and know why we spend so many lifetimes, pretty much, okay, not totally, but pretty much retracing the life we had before, but in a different body, different area, different people, whatever. Now imagine that we discover in this lifetime that we discover in this lifetime that we didn't discover in all the past lifetimes. Because in one lifetime, each of us has the capability and the possibility of discovering who and what we are completely. And when we do this and we know this, how many of us will reincarnate? You see? How many of us will reincarnate? If and when you come into a physical form as the God that you are, and you rediscover that you are the God in the body and you're not the body. And you commune with yourself, the God within that body, every day. And you view out there as a mere entertainment, right? That once in a while you dip into and then leave. You also understand that everything that is desired through the body comes to you when you stop fighting it. When you just let go and you go with the flow, and you know that whatever it is that you want will be there. And you really don't have any agenda as far as when, how, what. It just happens. And then you begin to gain superpowers. Things like flying, omnipotently powerful strength, vision, hearing, comprehension, and it goes on and on and on. And you're not attached to a thing. There's no attachment to anyone or anything. You have no attachment. You flow with it. You're in a relationship, you have no attachment to that being you're with. None. You have no attachments. You have no expectations of that being you're with. You just flow with the God that you are within that body. So you don't worry, you don't stress, you don't fear, because in that place, the ego mind doesn't exist. So you have no reason to prove yourself at all with anybody or anything. You know who and what you are. You know that the universe is your greatest ally and best friend. This is a much different understanding than what we're trained to understand. But where does it begin for all of us? Where does the training begin? When we enter these baby bodies, and as soon as we come out of the mother's womb, it begins. And sure, different vibrational frequencies and sounds, while the vessel was being created within the womb for you to enter, those frequencies do have effects. So technically you could say while you're still in the womb, but full blown when you're out of the womb. And is it avoidable? No, it isn't. Okay, there's the dilemma for us. Because the only way that we come in to experience physical form is through the baby body or the tree or whatever. And we begin to realize that we have no memory, pretty much, of anything in the past, of past lives. So we're an empty vessel that's ready to take in all suggestions, thoughts, communications, verbal progressions, all of it. Now, the thing is that everyone around us, 99.999% of the time, learned the same way. So you can see how it continually repeats itself. Now, it might get a little lighter here and there, maybe a little heavier here and there, but you see how it repeats itself on this planet. How we're in this repetitive process. We go into the baby body. We are literally trained by other people's thoughts, not ours. Then we form character, personality. And then most of the time we get to a point and we create the same thing all over again. Doing the same thing over and over and over again, and having or expecting different outcomes or results is lunacy. This is why in meditation, and the information that I share is for us to contemplate this in deep peace through meditation, in the now, with our breath, as long as we can. And to visit this more than just once a day. 10 minutes, here, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes over here. And because this cycle, right, must end. For all of us. And it's the awareness, and it's never, it's like, well, you gain character and personality because your parents or whoever raised you, and you begin to realize that you form certain perspectives and ideas and attitudes in your life. And it doesn't mean any of it's bad. It just means that we somehow get sidetracked because in the beginning we didn't know who and what we were to begin with. You see the difference? And so we spend the life, and as the body ages and experience year after year after year after year after year, your perspective changes. You look at and view things differently, and in a few areas mostly. And then the clock keeps ticking, right? And then we spend, 50, 80, 100, whatever years in this body. And then the time comes to leave it. And then we leave it, and then but imagine this, that when that time comes, you know that the body was temporary to begin with, and that you're an immortal, eternal being that never, ever, ever, ever ends. That's really big for the civilization, to come to that heart-minded conclusion, understanding. When we're at peace, everything flows. When we're not, everything goes. So you look at the fabric of it, and you begin to unravel the fabric, and you start to understand everything pretty much is in reverse. It's the opposite of your natural state of being. Our natural state of being is peace within. But look at the difference of this opposite, our unnatural state of being. This is why so many of us are so distracted, distraught, irritated, fearful, worrisome. This is why, because it's the opposite of our natural state of being. You see how discomforting that is? All of us. It's discomforting for us because it isn't our natural state of being. So therefore, of course, like the dog on the porch laying on the nail, it doesn't know any better to get off the nail. So we become conditioned each lifetime the same way. It's the same way different bringers, right? Yet, maybe different parents, different circumstances, situations, but it's the same when it all boils down to it. So in this life, in this now, we begin to unravel the fabric that gives us this amnesia that causes us to forget who and what we are, and then spend the rest of our lives trying to figure out who and what we are. And most of the time, we leave the body, come back and start again, because we never discovered who and what we are. You see the distraction that we all have. We all have this distraction, don't we? Most of us are in the thralls of the ego mind. But what we begin to do, and everybody that comes to this meditation globally understand one thing, that they know for the most part that out there, we created out there for once in a while entertainment. That's it. We aren't attached to out there. We aren't attached or have expectations to out there. We visit. We all know what visiting is, right? We go somewhere, we visit, and we leave. But when we visit, we don't stay there. So it's like this, like say somebody's 60, 70 years old, 80, 90, and they start realizing this. But they're still in the body to discover or rediscover the God that they are within the body, and that their natural state of being is the peace deep within the heart and not that out there. And the manifestation is identified and it's surrendered to. So the universe just opens up the channels of abundance and it flows to you. The toughest thing for us is to let go. Because most of us believe, oh, I let go, then I'll lose it. No, you let go of holding it. If you put something in your hand and you close it too tight, you'll smother it. But if you hold it loosely, and if it flies away, not a big deal. Because you know it'll be back. And if it doesn't come back, so what? Because this civilization is on a major transition, not about what's happening out there, but what's happening inside of each and every one of us. That's the major transition. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy breath flow in through the nose and an easy, slow breath out of the mouth. Remain still. For today, investigate this experience called breathing all day long. Keep bringing your mind back to the breath. Follow it wherever it flows. Just be with it. If it's shallow, deep, fast, or sluggish, don't try to change your breath in any way. Simply connect to it. Feel it from your heart, as if you're making friends with it. Notice how it changes when you merge with it, and allow yourself to become it fully. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and the following morning, and we'll return here Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation